that's a good thing. So this is your interview, so I got to go down to the second question. All right. You often talk about the necessity of passing through the darkness to reach the light. Can you elaborate on the concept of the dark night of the soul and how it relates to the healing process in ACIM? For those of us who are experiencing intense shadow work and feel overwhelmed, what guidance does ACIM offer to help us navigate through this period? If you want to talk a little bit on the dark night of the soul.
Yeah. Well, when we talk about the unconscious or the subconscious mind, any psychologist, Carl Jung, a very famous psychotherapist and psychologist, called it the shadow, just the shadow. Basically, where did this seem to come about, and what is the way that we can allow it up so we can move through it to the light that is even further deeper down than the subconscious, is the light of God, the light of heaven. So we could say that basically the subconscious, the fear comes from the belief in the fall from grace, falling from heaven, falling from grace. All the spiritual traditions talk about this in their own terms with their own stories, but it's the fall from grace. And in psychological terms, this is bringing into a defense mechanism called dissociation. When you dissociate from something, you push it completely out of awareness. You disidentify from it. You have an amnesia about it. So let's say that the belief in separation from God is just dissociating from heaven, from love, from light, from eternity, and getting caught up in a defense against it. Even though it's all loving and it's nothing to be feared, if the ego belief is taken seriously, not laughed at, then this dissociation takes the form of trying to maintain two irreconcilable thought systems in the same mind. And this is what we call a split mind, where the thought system of love, or the Holy Spirit, and the thought system of the ego, sin, fear, pain, death, are both held together, and one is held in terms of, we could say, dissociation. They're held apart, because if you bring them together, perfect love casts out fear. The fear will disappear if the two are brought together. But if they are maintained as separate thought systems, then we have a split mind. Sometimes in psychiatry, psychology, we call that schizophrenia. It's a schizophrenic condition to try to believe in two irreconcilable thought systems. It's like oil and water, except this is different in the sense that when you bring love and fear together, the fear disappears. So this is really what we mean by bringing the darkness to the light. You're allowing the Holy Spirit to say, okay, whatever darkness you believe in, it's all right. Let it come up, let it come to the surface, and give it over to me. Don't hide it, don't protect it, don't repress it, don't suppress it. Bring it to me, and I have already shined it away. Just your willingness to not hide it and protect it, just your willingness to face that vulnerable feeling of coming and allowing that up, something that's been suppressed and repressed for millennium. Now, now I decide to say, Ali Ali and come free, like Ghost in the Graveyard, the old games we used to play. We're letting all the ghosts come up and come toward the light so that they can be freed, they can be released. And that's actually the end of dissociation. So what you end up with is a mind that's whole and complete, a mind that's filled with love, light, and joy as God created it, not in some kind of dissociated state where you feel like you're a person in a crazy, wacky world trying to just survive day by day and trying to deal with pain through addictions, distractions, escapism, all the things that the ego invented to try to keep itself alive, to try to perpetuate itself. Those we're not interested in anymore. We're interested in healing. And that healing is wholeness, not split, not separation.
You know, I I kind of get the vision. Is it, kind of like going down into a basement that has been, and I think you've used this analogy before with the Peace House basement. You're going down there and turning on the lights, and it's like, oh my goodness. But now that we see, or maybe it's better say, if you go down in the basement, make sure and go down there with Jesus.
Yeah, make sure that you have the light with you,
Yeah.
because you don't want it to be spooky, and you don't want it to seem like a horror show or a house of horrors. And the basement, though, is down low. It's foundational. So in the mind, that's what we mean by letting the darkness arise. And it does, just in what we call human experience every day. Darkness is trying to pop up and come up. So it's not like we have to try to trigger it to get it to come up. It will come up, and especially when we're in a state of allowance and allowing it to come, not judging against it and pushing it back down, but let's let that basement door be open. Let's all the windows in the basement be open, and let's clear it out. And that's what we're doing in spiritual healing.
I like that one word, allow.
Yeah.
A lot of what I had to learn the hard way in my spiritual journey is, and I think it's probably, a rite of passage for many, is I was always trying to battle the darkness. Let's do something about it. Well, you know, I just got off the phone with Ricky earlier, and she, again, every time I talk with her, it's kind and gentle.
Yeah. Yeah.